Hola chicos, today I'm going to talk to you about demonstrative adjectives. And although there are a lot of forms, these are actually really similar to English, and they're really quite easy once you think about them, right? So we have este, ese, aquel. Think of it as este means this. My pen would work. There we go. This, that, and that, right? So there's a difference between ese and aquel, and I'll get to that in a second. So if I want to say, do you like these shoes? Or which shoes do you prefer? Do you prefer these shoes? So I would ask, ¿prefieres? And we'll have a blank, zapatos. So how do we know which one to use? Well, if we want to say these shoes, we're going to look at the noun, which is zapatos, and we're going to say that that's masculine, and we're going to say it's plural, right? So we're going to go over here. It's not este, not esta. It's going to be estos. ¿Prefieres estos zapatos? Perfecto. So a mistake I see some students doing is leaving the los in there, which is the article. And in this case, you take the article out. It would be like saying in English, do you prefer these, the shoes? Sounds weird, right? Estos, with one of these demonstrative adjectives, you leave that out, right? What if I want to say, do you prefer those bananas? Let's use bananas, plátanos. We know it's masculine, we know it's plural, so we're going to go over here and it's that, those, which is that, right? It's going to be esos. Esos plátanos, etc. So what's the difference between that and that? Ese and aquel. It can be a little bit difficult for us in English. So think of aquel, ese as being that, but you can see it. Try to think of aquel as being that, but far away, maybe something you can't see, right? For instance, do you prefer those shoes? Maybe those shoes are like in a store that you just left and you can't see the shoes anymore, so you would say aquellos zapatos. Aquellos zapatos. That's not precisely it, but that's a way to think about it so that you get it, right? Now, we know that in English we can say, do you prefer these shoes or those shoes? We can also prefer, do you prefer these or those, right? We don't have to say shoes. Maybe we're pointing at it. Do you prefer those, right? So in Spanish we would say, prefieres those. Let's go with zapatos, right? But we're not going to say zapatos because we're pointing at them. We're still going to use estos, but this time we're going to put an accent on it. Right? Do you prefer those? So whenever you're not naming, and this becomes a demonstrative pronoun, whenever you're not naming this, the thing, the object, it needs to have an accent on it. So it will be este, esta, estos, estas, ese, esa, esos, esas, aquel, aquella, aquellos, aquellas. That's over the E, not the U. It doesn't change the pronunciation, but sometimes in Spanish accents are used to differentiate between word meanings, not to change the pronunciation. A good example of that is sí, which means if, and sí, which means yes. They're both spelled the same way. They're both pronounced the same, but this has an accent to differentiate it from that word. Or él, which means he, and él, which means the. No difference in pronunciation, but he has an accent to differentiate between the two words. And that's it for demonstrative adjectives and pronouns. Nos vemos.